Hey YouTube, Yu-Gi-Oh! Pizza Bros here. I got a Lightsworn deck profile for you today. This build of Lightsworns is more of a pure variant. I know there's tons of other variants out there, like the Dragon Rulers variant, which is actually really popular. It won second place at the European Nationals. And then there's Chaos variants, there's Zombie variants, there's just so many things you can do with Lightsworns. But for today, we just have the pure variant. But in the future, if you would like to see more things to do with Lightsworns, just leave a comment and let us know, and we'll be able to throw some of that stuff together for you. But today, we just have the pure variant, so let's go ahead and get started with the main deck. You got 3 Judgment Dragon, boss monster of the deck, your main win condition. I mean, everyone knows what this card does, and for a reason, because it's completely broken, so you run 3. Next, you got 3 Lumina, just fantastic. Your ideal opening play is to open her and a Garoth, not Garrett, that's Magic the Gathering. But and she lets you really cycle through your deck and set up your synchro plays or even your rank 3 plays. Just fantastic card. Next, you got 3 Lyla. I know I have commons, I don't have any of my foils, makes me kind of sad. But she's pretty good. In the pure variant, you run 3. She's good for just baiting out your back row, so your JD plays, your Synchro plays can go through, and just like all the other Lightsworn monsters, she's going to mill you some cards to help speed through your deck. Next up, only 2 Raiden. I felt like 3 was sometimes a little cloggy, but it's something I'm considering bumping up to 3. It's just, he's one of the newer cards, he's fantastic, he's like a card trooper, he can mill, and he's a level 4 tuner, and he's just awesome. Probably the one out of the 2 new Lightsworn monsters we got, he's definitely the best one out of the structure deck. I actually do play 2 Ryko. It's something I'm considering. I might cut him down 1 and then put in a 3rd Raiden. I like 2 Ryko because I feel like every time I play Lightsworn, I run into Evil Swarm. And the worst thing to happen to this deck is for Evil Swarm to go Ophion, then set 4 or 5 back row. And you're just kind of screwed, and Ryko is just a perfect out to cards like Ophion that are really ruining your day and just help you get around certain things. So play 2 of him, but subject to change. 1 Garoth, like I said earlier, he's great, especially if you have him with Lumina. He lets you draw a whole bunch of cards and really get your engine going to set up your graveyard for JD, and so awesome card. 1 Ehren, alright. It's pretty good against Geargia and the hands, but it doesn't really get its effect off that often in most of my matches. It's really in there just for another name. Then you've got the 1 Wulf. 1 is just enough. You could run 2, but you do not want to draw this card ever. It's completely useless in your hand unless you have a solar recharge. So just run 1. 1 Arkus. I really don't like this guy, but I like him a little more than Minerva, and he's just really another name, and he's another target for Lumina if you need to go into a rank 3 play. Plus, every once in a while, his effect that Lightsworn monsters can't be targeted can be useful, like against D-Prisons or Compulse or things like that. But keep in mind that if you try, you cannot use Lumina's effect while he is on the field because you cannot target Lightsworn monsters in your graveyard. So kind of a bummer, but like I said, he's mainly in there for the name. 1 Jain helps you beat over cards like Thunder King or Urnite, things that you normally would have trouble getting over. Jain can kind of help you beat over those bigger monsters. And final Lightsworn we play is 1 Celestia. 1's a good number, otherwise she becomes a dead draw. A really cool combo is to use Foolish Burial on Wulf, so he's sent directly from the deck to the graveyard, and then tribute off Wulf or Celestia, pop 2 cards, and then mill. So she's a pretty good card, and she can really get you out of a lot of tight spots, especially with, like I said, the Foolish Burial play and then Soul Charge. She's not completely dead. And then play Honest, because, I mean, it's a deck full of lights, so you might as well. And final light that I play is BLS. I do play about 6 or 7 dark targets, so getting out BLS usually can happen almost just about every game. So card's ridiculous. If you run lights and darks, you probably need to run it. Now onto the dark component of the deck. 3 Necro Gardna. I know a lot of people are starting to play Rainbow Kuriboh, but especially since I play BLS, I prefer to have the dark targets in there if I need them. And I just personally think that Necro Gardna is better. Don't ask me why, but for whatever reason when I play Rainbow Kuriboh, there's just situations where I wish I would have just had Necro Gardnas. So, I like Necro Gardnas personally, but if you want to swap these out for Rainbow Kuribohs, totally understand. Only 2 Kuribandit. People live and swear by 3. I just think that late game, Kuribandit is kind of a dead draw. I mean, I'd much rather top deck just about any other card other than a Kuribandit when I have like 6 cards left in my deck. So, great card, just I don't like him at 3. 1 Plaguespreader because you mill a lot and he's good for pulling off shenanigans with synchros. I tech in 1 Ghostrick Jackfrost. This card is pretty nifty. He's another dark target for BLS, and I don't play Trag simply because in Lightsworns you usually don't have huge hands, and I needed something else to kind of stop those OTK pushes. And Jackfrost does an okay job at doing that, so I mean he looks cool and I like him. He's alright. And then finally Gorz, because for the same reason, you want to stop those OTK pushes and allow your time to set up your grave. Alright, on to the spells. 3 Solar Recharge, pretty self-explanatory. In my opinion, probably one of the best draw cards in the game. Discard a Lightsworn, draw 2 cards, then mill 2 cards. Just really gets your deck going. Play 1 Charge Light Brigade, because sadly, it is only at 1. But for good reason, it's way too good. Next, 3 Soul Charge. I'm kind of debating on whether or not to take this back down to 2, if I can get them straight. But I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, it clogs at 3, and yeah, it can, but I feel like if I only play 2, then I'm going to mill both of them. It's just a card that I really want to see in my opening hand. And even if that means I have 2 of them, well, so be it. I'd rather have 2 than none at all. So, 3 Soul Charge. And then 2 Monster Reincarnation. Just great for adding back your JDs and your BLS and things like that when you mill them, because this is Lightsworns, and part of this deck is revolved around luck. Well, I say part. A lot of this deck is revolved around luck, and if you get bad luck with mills, then you're going to want something to add back some of those big cards. Plus, if you're like me and draw all of your Necro Gardnas or your Wulf, then you can have something to dump them back into the graveyard with. Fantastic card. And then, finally, I play 1 Foolish and Book of Moon. Book of Moon is just a good, versatile. Since you don't play any traps, it's a good kind of protective card. And Foolish is used to set up your graveyard, whether it's sending a Wulf or a Plaguespreader or a Necro Gardna, or sending that 4th name that you need for JD. Just great card. Great card. On to the extra deck. Oh, and one quick note. I don't play any traps. I mean, no Needlebug Nest, no Beckoning Light, no Breakthrough Skill. For the simple reason that I don't want my opponent to have any targets for their MSTs, their Ice Hands, their anything. I don't want them to have anything that they can use their spell and trap removal on game 1, because then it makes those cards dead. Because if you set a card face down, they almost know it's going to be a Needlebug Nest or a Beckoning Light, and it's going to get, Space Typhoon during the end phase. So I'd rather just not play any traps, and my opponent just have a bunch of dead cards in their hand. So, but I do side in some traps in games 2 and 3, depending on the matchup. So, now onto the extra deck. I do play Armades as the level 5. You very, very rarely go into him. He's mainly for, like, if you have a Plaguespreader and a Lumina and a last-ditch effort. I mean, he's okay against the hands and Bujins, but he's mainly in there just in case I have to go into him. Usually doesn't happen, though. 1 Black Rose, because with Raiden and Lumina, easy to go into level 7s of this deck, and you nuke the field with JD and Exciton Knight, so you might as well nuke the field even more. Only 1 Michael, just because he's really good, but a lot of times that I can go for a level 7, I usually end up passing on that play because usually by that, if I have a rank 7 play, I can go for a level 7 play. I can go for a JD, and it's good, but it's just not. I don't know. Maybe I'm being greedy or something. But I felt like out of the structure deck, he would have offered something more. I mean, banishing a card is all right, but I mean, when you've got JD that can just blow up the whole field, I don't know. A little underwhelming, but still good enough to play one. So. I play 3 level 8s, 1 Crimson Blader, 1 Stardust Dragon, and 1 Beelze. Beelze you can make with 2 Luminas and a Plaguespreader, or a Lumina, a Necro Gardna, a Plaguespreader, or Arkus, or, there's several different ways you can bring out level 8s. And then the same thing goes with Crimson Blader and Stardust, you can bring them out with Raiden and any other level 4. So, Crimson Blader, because it's good against the other Lightsworn matchups, and dragons and mermaids and sylvans, good against tons of stuff really. And Stardust, I was thinking about Scrap Dragon, but the main problem this deck has is if you're playing against the mirror match and they get out their JD first, or things like the hands. And I'd rather have Stardust there to help protect myself really for a while until I can set up my own JD plays, as opposed to having like a Scrap Dragon or something like that to help me go on the offense. Because really, Judgment Dragon is really the only main offensive card you need in this deck. So, and then of course you got Beelze, because if you can make Beelze, you should run Beelze. That was it for the Synchros. Now on to the XYZs. 2 rank 3s, Leviair and Zenmaines. I feel like that's all you really need. I don't really go into Alucard that much when I played it, and same with Equipped Engineer. Leviair is good for bringing back your Plaguespreaders and your Necro Gardnas and things like that in order to set up more Synchro plays or XYZ plays or reuse Plaguespreader's effect. And Zenmaines is there to help you stall, so you really don't go into rank 3s that much. They're just kind of there in case you have to have them. And then, let's see, for the rank 4s, you got 101, because Steel Monsters, pretty self-explanatory. Exciton Knight, same thing, blow up the board, it's pretty much a staple. Daigusto Emeral, to reset some of your Lightsworn monsters, or to kind of like help just recycle like your Kuribandits if you need to. Pretty good. Starliege Paladynamo, you play mostly lights, so you might as well. Lavalval Chain, this card is actually really clutch in this deck. You can top deck JDs, you can send Wulfs to grave to get more damage on board, you can set up your grave with Necro Gardnas or Plaguespreaders. There's just so many options when you go for this card, and I feel like this card might actually go up in value because I feel like every deck uses this card. It's pretty much a staple, kind of like 101 in Exciton, so I think it was like at $30 at the time of making this video. Or, wait, no, take it back, probably like $35. But I feel like it should be going up in price pretty soon. Got 1 Blackship to deal with hands and things like Zenmaines, so if they're stalling, it'll help me get rid of them, and then I can drop JD. And then 1 Gaga Cowboy to go burn damage, 800 for games. Pretty good, especially with all the offensive firepower in this deck. It's nice to have. And for the side deck, this side deck isn't anything too special, but it works for me. If I was going to a bigger, this is mainly for locals. If I'm going to a bigger event, I might change it up a little bit, but for all intents and purposes at locals, this pretty much does the job. 3 MSTs, because when they side in Light-Imprisoning Mirror and Vanity's Emptiness and Kaiser Coliseum against you, you've got to have something to take it out with, so you got to have 3 MST. 2 Noblemen of Crossouts for Geargia and hands. I'm probably going to reduce this down to 1 because I feel like Geargia won't be as popular this format, so it's still a good card to have, just maybe not a necessity in the side deck. 1 Dark Hole. I just don't like drawing Dark Hole game 1, especially if I'm going first. It's something that I'll side in if I have to against something like Geargia or other against other Lightsworn players. Something that's going to swarm the board faster than me. I need to have a response to. That's the main reason why I would play Dark Hole. To traps, 2 Shadow-Imprisoning Mirror for dark decks, namely Evil Swarm. Gosh, hate that deck, especially. Ugh, God, Ophion just drives me crazy. 2 breakthrough skill to help you get around things like, well, Ophion. Also, this card's really good against Big Eye. The worst thing in the world is going for a Beelze or a JD, and you're just on the brink of having game, and then your opponent just drops a Big Eye, or drops their own JD, or something like that, or a Leo, and is able to just attack over it. So, breakthrough skill protects your JDs, because you have, like I said, you play no traps in the main deck, so it offers a little bit of protection. 2 Mind Crush, good against almost everything this format. Bujins, Mermail, Geargia, Fire Fist, anything that, because there's so many decks that add cards to their hand from their deck, and it's just such a good card, such a good card. This is kind of an interesting tech. I play 2 and the band played on. It's actually not too bad. I'm kind of testing around with it. It's very situational, but against the right decks, it can be really good. Against, like, namely Geargia, or, God, what's that deck called? Like the, Raccoons. Any deck that's going to special summon and focus on a certain level, like level 4s or level 2s or whatever, this is fantastic. Because Geargias, they can't spam and go off with their big Geargian X plays. It's not so great against decks like Mermail and like Lightsworn because there's such a diverse level range. So this card's very situational, but against the right decks, it can be really powerful. So, I mean, it's okay, but I'm probably going to take it out. It's just a fun card I like to play around with. And then finally, 1 Magic Drain. It's a really old card. For those of you who don't know what it does, basically it's a counter trap, and when your opponent activates a spell card, it negates it unless they discard a spell card from their hand. So, you know, if you're playing against Lightsworn and they activate their charge of the Light Brigade, you basically negate that, and in Lightsworns at least, there's not many spells that you want to discard. All of your spells are really valuable. So either way, you're going to win. You're either going to negate their spell that they're activating, or they're going to be forced to discard one. And if it's the only spell they've got, well, then it's just going to get negated because they can't pay the cost. So, pretty good against, like I said, especially Lightsworn, and a couple other decks. So, anyways, that comes to the end of the deck. Tell me what you guys thought. Like I said, Lightsworn should be pretty good this format, especially the Dragons variant, but the Pure variant, in my opinion, is just more fun to play. But if you guys want to see the Dragon variant, just post a comment and let me know. Or if there's anything else you guys want to see from this channel, just feel free to comment away and let us know your thoughts. Well, anyway, see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.